Is that mine which is blinking? Yeah. I thought if I need an additional screen. Yeah, but let's switch this thing. Oh yeah, I can put the Zulip here. I think that's, we have one more screen. All good. I think we should start.
So
Shall we
shall we
start?
start?
Slowly, people are coming in after food. I
Yeah.
think we'll start in a minute. Yeah, just one moment. We'll start. Any remote presenters want to do a mic test? Please do it now. I see Cheng. Mic test if you like. Who else?
Can you hear me?
Mike, go ahead. Yeah, Mike, do a mic test.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mike,
Okay.
all good. Cheng, I can't hear you if you're speaking. Cheng, do a check for your headphones right now. If you're trying to speak, I can't hear. Okay. Uh,
Hello. Wow.
yes, working now.
Delay. Okay. Thank you.
Just one thing, please make sure to do the new way of doing blue sheets, either on the screen or the pad that is being passed around the room. Please make sure that happens. We need to get the room of the right size. Thank you. And it's important that your attendance is captured uh, as well. Julian, go ahead. I think we can start.
Sure. Hello, everyone. This is the PC working group session. Okay, so as you already noticed, Andrew stepped up to replace Harry, so he will be handling the notes for this session. So feel free to give him a hand during the session to write down anything you feel would be would deserve it. Okay. So yeah, as Trav is writing down, we will thank, and we are already, and we can thank again Harry for his work with the PC work group. I hope we'll meet him again. I don't think he's in San Francisco this time, but maybe in the future. So uh, let's hope we'll meet again. So, shall we move the slide?
Julian, you should have the slide
Oh,
control.
okay, I have the control. Thanks. Not well. So you should be familiar with them if you already attended some session this week, or if you already attended some IETF meetings before. There are some process to follow and to be aware of. So feel free to look at those references here. Make sure you are following all the processes, especially when it comes to the intellectual property processes. There is also some harassment prevention in place, and the IETF is trying to be more and more clear on that and to put higher means on this effort. So if you feel there are issues related to harassment, please contact the people in charge and make sure that the situations are well captured. And of course, we are here to discuss technical matters. So harassment is not welcome at all at the IETF, where else, I guess. So if you feel that someone may need some help, also you may be welcome to signal and contact the humble persons. As a reminder, this session is being recorded as usual. So as Trevor was mentioning before, make sure to sign the virtual blue sheet using the Metico tool, especially if you're in the room. It's now mandatory to connect to Metico to do stuff. So please follow the process, maybe using the QR code that may be circulating in the room. Otherwise, use the full the heavy client for Metico, and you'll be tracked and included in the virtual blue sheets. So we've already tested the audio for remote participants. So I hope that the remote presentation will work well. But on the previous session I attended, it seems to be okay this time. So I hope it will keep on the same for the PC session. So the useful links, you may already be aware of the agenda one, but if you have issues, there are other useful medical related ones, so you may use those. And especially for the PCE session in progress, if you want to give a hand to Andrew, here are the link to the notes page. Feel free to join and add any missing information to capture the key element from the session. So as usual, there are some behavior to abide by to follow the queue in Metico. So do not start speaking directly. Please join the queue on the app. When we give you the floor, please state your name. This is recorded, and as usual, Trevor and Andrew make sure that you are following and respecting the time you were allocated. Usual reminders, the IETF works a lot between meetings, so please make sure that your work is shared on the PC mailing list, especially everything related to working group drafts on topics that may be relevant to the working group. Try to express your opinion at the various steps for document progresses, including working group lab score, ID adoptions, and so on. We have the wiki in place. You will notice that we have a couple of queues there related to working group lab scores and working group adoption. We try to flush them step by step with rough. There are some documents remaining there, but we are not forgetting them. We track them and we try to progress in those queue. So feel free to look at them and make sure it's up to date. The direct link to the chat there and the reminder for the early allocation process that exists with the IANA. So if you are planning to implement a draft for an interop event, you may consider requesting some early cut points. So there is a process for that as well. So you may contact the chair if you feel that your draft is really requiring cut points before being published as an RFC. So agenda bashing. Does anyone want to bash anything from the agenda? Okay, great. So the agenda is full. So make sure if you present that you respect your time. Working group status. So we don't have published any new RFC since the previous IETF, but we have several with the IEHG. Two of them are with the RFC editor. One of them is blocked due to misref. So hopefully we will resolve this one by progressing the reference document in the near future. So it's a binding label. We also have local protection enforcement, which is pending an update, but it should be resolved pretty soon. And with the IEG, we have currently the stateful GMPLS document, which is progressing as well. So as soon as the revision is posted, it may move forward again. We don't have any new errata since last IETF. There is a lesion which was sent by the ITUT, the usual one with the update of their work and the request on our side to update the relevant work they may be interested in. So there is a coordinated response, which is generally handled by Scott to gather the response of the various involved working groups. Here we have a track of the existing early IANA allocation for documents with the working group. Three of them were renewed quite recently. And we move to the status of the working group IDs. You want to take the ball from there, Drav?
Yes, thanks, Julian. I'll take control back. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So these are the documents which are post working group last call. The SRV61 is on the agenda. Hopefully, we will be making progress on this soon. That's what our hope is. Then we have two documents, PCEP Yang and a native IP. Both of them are waiting on Shepherd review. So hopefully, both your chairs will act on this soon, and we should be able to progress these. Uh, the documents which are nearing working group last call, we have FlexGrid, we have a document about SR policy candidate path, which is on the agenda, and hopefully when we discuss, we can decide whether it's ready for working group last call. We have optional objects in PSAP and state synchronization. Both of them seems to be ready. They have been the versions have been mostly stable, and if there are any concerns, please let us know regarding these documents. Moving quickly on, again, we have some documents which have been more on the stable side. We have SR path segment, bidirectional, PCCC for SR, all I think slowly and slowly moving towards the working group last call stage, hopefully. Multipath is on the agenda, so we can discuss this in that time itself. Some documents, we have stateful interdomain, which has expired, but the authors have confirmed that they still want to progress this work, and they will be making an update before the next IETF and maybe even present in the next IETF. So we are hoping to make progress there. Uh, P2MP1 was discussed in the last IETF. There were comments given. I think we are waiting for those comments to be handled. Uh, Another document that we have is L2 flow spec one. This one I plan to discuss with the IDR folks as well and see if we need to do any changes in PSEP, especially because of FSV2 procedures and things like adding explicit order in flow spec, whether we need to support that in PSEP as well. So that might require some change. So that's one action item that I've taken that during this ITF to figure that out and then come back to the working group and see whether we want to take that up or not. Uh, Here we have another set of working group items. I don't see any issues here except for the SRV6 PCCC, which was adopted. We got good comments from Adrian. Those are still not handled. So authors, please make a 01 and handle those comments. Thank you. These are our recently adopted document. We have the TLS 1.3, which is actually on the agenda, and uh, and the vendor one, actually the status should update. We have the 00, which is posted yesterday, so we are good there. This is our adoption poll queue. We maintain this in our wiki. If you have any concerns, please let the chairs know. We can work with you in figuring out. And as you can see, our queue is long. So please help in reviewing, moving things quickly. We don't want to hold up documents as well. So we need your support when we ask for working group adoption and last call to give timely comments so that we can move things quickly. This document, which was discussed last time and on the list as well, we asked for feedback from the working group. The working group was kind of silent on that, and chairs have decided that we are going to park this document until we have implementations or other documents that use this enhanced error technique. So the document can be brought back when that changes. For now, it's in the parked stage. We maintain a wiki where we coordinate with other working groups and research groups, especially tracking what's happening in extensions in IDR and in Spring, in Beer, where we also do work in PSAP. So I talked to Andrew, and Andrew will help me in keeping this more up to date. There is still more work needed here. We have a GitHub. Uh, so if you want to move some of your working group ID repositories to IETF working group GitHub instead of your personal one, please reach out to the chairs and secretary. We'll help you out in doing that. Okay, and any concerns with any of our working group documents? Does anybody want to have any comments, any thoughts? Anybody on this? No. Okay, so moving ahead, the next part of our the working group session was also to have a chance to discuss the working group charter update. We actually had a good discussion on the mailing list, but since we were nearing the ITF meeting, we thought let's hold on, let's give one chance during a live meeting as well if people have any thoughts on the charter update, and based on what happens today, we can then progress this to our AD for our recharter. So our PC working group charter is actually last updated in 2014, so it's been a little dated. And both chairs and ADs discussed that we need to update it, make things more explicit, especially with respect to segment routing and the new work coming in with respect to Beer and DeathNet. So the main changes are related to that, uh, clearly saying that work outside of RSVPT is happening in PSAP, segment routing, Beer, DeathNet, and also simplifying some of our text related to interdomain, for instance. So mostly the charter update looks pretty clear. At least on the mailing list, things were fine. This is your one more chance during the working group session. If anybody has any thoughts on the charter update, please use this time. Otherwise, we'll shift to John. Okay, awesome. So Hearing nothing, I think we'll be sending it to our AD pretty soon. Thanks. Let's start. Agenda. Our first speaker is Mike. Okay, stop sharing. Mike, I've given you control. You should be able to control the slides.
Yeah, thanks, Dhruv. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Koldyshev from Cisco Systems. I'll be presenting these PCEP extensions for SRT policy, these two drafts. The summary of what these two drafts do is they basically enable us to support all the features of the SR policy architecture, plus also some additional features that kind of crept in. So these features are reverse path per segment list, backup per segment list. So this point is actually kind of up for discussion. I've received some questions about whether we should move this section to a separate document, which I think makes sense because the backup is not part of SR policy architecture, and it's also I don't think there may be a lot of use cases for it, to be honest. I don't think anybody implemented it. And the third feature that's not in the SR policy architecture that is in the drafts is the per flow policy, which is a special kind of composite candidate path. And so I tried to basically make very granular capability negotiations so that the PCEP peers can negotiate which capabilities out of all these SR policy architecture features, which of the features they actually support. And so it allows the PCEP client, the PCEP peer to basically only support some of the features. And these drafts have been deployed in production by Cisco, and they've also been, I don't know if they've been deployed by like Juniper and Huawei and the rest, but they've definitely been implemented. I'm not sure if I think there's some other implementations, but I haven't received any information. So if there's other implementations, please you can email me and let me know. So in like the recent changes, I've been doing a lot of work on this. I'm trying to bring this draft to like a good state, kind of making the wording clearer and removing some of the confusing parts. So here's like a summary of the recent changes. So this is kind of the first point. I'll do a bit more on it in the next slide. So basically we can, I allow the stateful bring up for this application. So for the SR policy architecture, or for the SR policy LSP. Then basically we try to make this protocol origin aligned with BGPLS. So unfortunately, we use different code points. So there may be a bit of a mess in that in there. So right now PCEP uses 10, 20, 30, and BGPLS uses 1, 2, 3. We hope to have a common SR registry that maintains these code points across all the protocols so that we don't have to have a separate registries per protocol. Yeah, so that's kind of pretty much it. So I wanted to quickly say about the stateful bring up. So basically the RFC 8231, which is stateful PCEP, specifies that the PCC must send the PC request before sending PC report if the LSP is down, initially down. So this, I think we all kind of discussed this a lot, and we all agree that it creates a unnecessary overhead, and most vendors were kind of skipping that part anyway. So my previous PC operational draft was trying to remove this unnecessary step, right, of sending the PC request. But I was doing it for all the whole PSAP, right? So for all path setup types, which in hindsight is probably too broad of a scope because it affects not only existing ones but legacy ones plus future LSP types. So in this current draft, in the SR policy candidate path draft, I basically restrict the stateful bring up to just SR policy LSPs. So I don't care like about what you do with RCPTE or P2MP or native IP. It's just restrict the scope to this one application. And I think that's much easier to work with than to try to make a change to the whole, that affects all the LSP types. So yeah, that's it for my presentation. Thanks.
Ketan Talaulikar, Cisco. Mike, this is about the comment or the what you stated earlier in your presentation about segment list backup. So as you say that there are some things which are extended beyond RFC 9256, which is the SR policy architecture. I think like Perflow is covered there. The reverse path is I mean it's an additional thing that seems fine, but I have a concern with the backup because the semantics for segment lists is for load balancing. They are not for active backup kind of a thing. For that purpose, we use candidate paths. So we can have two candidate paths and one is active and the other is the backup for that. So perhaps that's something to look at from a SR policy perspective. I don't know if there are any other like RSVPT or something else where we need or where the multipath backup thing may be useful. If it is not there, then probably it's best to take it off. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If
I
we're
can, yeah, I can summarize. So if you want to solve the active backup signaling, then we should use two candidate paths that are active backup with each other. Between segment lists, it's always load balancing. So this is the SR policy thing. The multipath, if it is meant only for this, then it's violates this. But if it's used for RSVPT, then that's fine. I think we can keep it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see if nobody objects, then we can move/remove that section on the backup segment list.
Thanks, Ketan. Thanks, Mike. Cheng, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I agree with Ketan about the backup part because yeah, it is right that is about the SR policy architecture. So the segment list is used for load balancing. Yep. And the second point is that I do remember that we have something similar or the theme defined in another working group document, which is the SR bidirectional pass things, right? So regarding the reverse pass segment list, I think it should be removed out of this document as well. Yep. Thank you. But I'm not really sure about the progress of this discussion. It's a long history. Yep. Sorry. Just want to confirm. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like technically the reverse segment list is not part of the SR policy architecture,
Yes.
but at the
Yeah.
same time, yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it is so it is kind of useful. But I mean, if people want to move it to a separate document, that's fine with me.
Yep. We can discuss offline. I think it would be easy to be adjusted.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Cheng. So I kind of agree. I think let's keep this document limited to what's already there in the SR policy architecture. That would be very easier for us to process as well. And we would like to move this document forward. So I think my suggestion would be remove the things which are newly added, and we can discuss then what concerns Cheng and Ketan has as part of those documents, and this we can move ahead. One thing with respect to the stateful bring up, since you are suggesting to update RFC 8231, make sure that we use the metadata in the draft also, which clearly says that there is an update. Right now, that seems to be missing, and we should
Okay.
clearly
Yeah.
say what exactly are we updating. That part
Okay.
would be very useful.
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
and regarding the capability TLV that you have added, any thoughts of reusing existing TLV, like just add flags to those TLVs? Is there a reason you thought we need an SR policy capability, a new TLV here?
Not really. I didn't. I mean, it was just kind of cleaner in my view to have it all in one. Uh, but yeah, we can definitely reuse it.
Yeah, we can think about it. I think the only reason to do this would be if you think that other would be we have an SR MPLS capability and SR V6 capability, which is separate. So the only reason to do this would be if you want to have a common capability and not for separate. But I can see advantage of, like, both ways. Like, we could want to do it SR MPLS maybe are different capabilities, and for SR V6 different set of capabilities, in which case our existing model makes more sense. So just think about this a little bit more, and then not a big
right.
issue. We can easily handle this.
Okay. Right.
And
Thanks.
my final question, which may be a little off topic, but since it's there in the slide, what's the status with the PC operational? I think the last decision was that you would break this into two documents. Uh,
Yeah.
are you still thinking of doing that or not? What's happening?
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna basically remove the part that's modifying RFC 8231 out of that document,
Hmm.
out of the PC operational, right? So make it purely informational. And then basically the part that modifies RFC 8231 will be the SR policy CP draft.
Okay, so according to you, apart from stateful bring up, there is nothing that is updating the existing RFC. Just want to make sure if that's the
Yeah,
case.
yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so once we have the document, I think we can just look out for that. That's my main concern. Otherwise, it's actually, this document is in the working group adoption queue. So moment you produce one, we can move ahead. I think we
Yeah.
still have Andrew on queue. Yeah, you can use this. That would be easier.
Andrew Stone, Nokia. So regarding the backup path discussion, I agree that yes, in the SR policy architecture, it's not there. I think there's a bit of history on how it leaked into this document. So originally with the point to multi-point policy with the replication segment, it was introducing the concept of a backup path because in the replication segment context, it's not load balanced. And so the intention was to signal a backup path in that case. And so at the time that was inside of the multipath draft, right? Because the multipath was about encoding multiple SID lists. Why it got brought into the SR policy document, I'm not totally sure, but I do agree that it shouldn't be there because it's not in the unicast SR policy, but we do need it in the replication segment solution. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Any other comments? Otherwise, we'll move ahead. Thank you. Okay. think I've given you slide control.
Yeah, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So, Tony from Huawei. So my topic today is about the PCEP extension for SRv6, which is a very basic extension for SRv6. And after IETF 116, we have only one single update, but we have addressed a lot of comments from the working group. But we still have something to be addressed in the future. So lucky, we can discuss today. Yep. Next. Okay. It seems like I can control it. Okay. So from this slide, we can see that almost all of the SRv6 basic extension have been, how say, mature and published as RFCs already, right? So PCP extension may be the last one, maybe the last one. So we need to do more. Yep, absolutely, we need to do more. And this is the current situation of the document. We see that the working group last call has ended in March, and we received a lot of comments from like Ketan, Agent, Xiongquan, and Chongfeng Xie, right? We have addressed the editorial comment received from them, and many thanks to them. And currently we still have some okay, and something more, right? In the last update, we addressed some comments further. For example, we add the Chen Ran as the new contributor because we merged the INA part from their draft into this draft. And also we adjust the agent's comments, and for example, the record a root object to a report a root object, right? And we adjust agent's IESG early review comments as well, and the editorial comments from Ketan, and some like references update and removal. Yep. And till now, we see that the at least from my point of view, the last functional comment to be addressed is the comment regarding to MSD from Ketan. So there may be two main points regarding to this comments. The first one is that should we carry the MSD inside the open sub-TLV to the PCE? That is the first question. And the second question is that, do we need an X flag, right? So the good news is that Karen has sent his email to the working group mailing list. So everyone is welcome to share your comments, share your thoughts in the mailing list. It will be hard to go into the details here, but you're welcome to share anything you want. Yep. So let me go through the slides very quickly, and we can go to the discussion part. Yeah. So the next step is that we should have more active discussion in the working group mailing list, and let's find a consensus very quick, and we can go to updated draft and move the draft forward. Yep. And that's it. Thank you. So comments and discussions are welcome. Yep. Karen, go ahead.
Hi, Ketan Talaulikar, Cisco. So we've had a chance to discuss face to face here with some folks and some members, and also with Drew. I think Drew has suggested a proposal. I mean, we can wordsmith it, but I think that's probably the way to go. So at this stage, we are not. I mean, it doesn't make sense to remove MSD, right? It's not. There are implementations out there. So just clarification of the how SRv6 MSD is relevant on all the nodes. So some text there, we can work offline. And
Yes.
then there is PCC CC use case, right? So that is fine. So I think that's the first point. On the X flag, I kind of agree. So we should poll if there are any implementations. and if not, then maybe remove that flag. You can use it for something else down the line.
Okay.
That
Personally,
makes
I
sense.
fully agree with you. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yep.
if we can resolve, we should move forward
Yeah,
quickly.
sure.
Thanks, Ketan. So actually, so now if we resolve the MSD thing, which we can wordsmith, now only the X flag is the only factor. With X flag also, now's the chance for the working group. If anybody wants to talk now, please let us know, or otherwise on the mailing list. What do people feel? Uh, X flag, what we are looking for is, if in your implementation, are you setting the X flag? Are people doing it? And even on receiving, if somebody receives with an X flag set, that means I don't handle MSD at all, I don't consider MSD during path computation. uh, what's the impact? And one suggestion which I made on the mailing list is, if you want to keep it, it's anyway, it's optional, we can add a warning that if you do this, then of course there is a chances that packet will get dropped, we are not taking MSD into consideration. And if operator wants to specifically set it, let him. Is what's the side effect of that part? If Ketan, you want to, like, at least that as an option I want to keep, and we'll do what the working group thinks. Otherwise, if they feel strongly that
So
no, it needs to
MS,
go away, then
yeah.
yeah, it
So
will go away.
yeah, so MSD generally is not things that operator provisions. It is the kind of, most like by default, it's the capability of the platform which is exported. Now, I'm aware of implementations which allow to either reduce that number for certain reasons, to keep, like, say, some more space for some other reasons, or increase the thing with some degraded performance. So there are operators tweak it for that reason.
Hmm.
I do not know why, I mean, or how operator would want to say, but no, we'll wait
Yeah,
for this thing
yeah.
to, like,
No,
there is no MSD in any platform, right?
yeah,
So
can I ask a question? In IGP, I thought even there MSD is optional, right? Are we saying it's mandatory that you must advertise it? I thought it was
no,
optional.
advertisement is optional,
Yeah,
right?
so I am
So it's a,
thinking it exactly in that point. If somebody is not advertising it and it's doesn't care and is happy to live with a failed path.
oh, okay, so if it is not there,
Hmm.
then it is considered that it is not supported. That's
Hmm.
the semantics in IGP.
Hmm.
So if you support something, then you advertise the MSD for it. If you don't, then actually it's undefined behavior, you can say.
But like a request to the working group, like, please, if you have thoughts on this, please use the mailing list and give us input. The document has been stuck for a while now, and we really want to make progress. As you know, there is a misref also waiting for this document, so we really want to make progress here. So please be vocal,
Yes.
and you can use this time
Yes.
also. We have time for this discussion. Okay, so okay, Boris, go ahead.
Yep. Hello. Just short comment. What implementation status part should be updated too, because there are at least 2 more implementations, as far as I know, maybe even more than 2.
Yeah, please send to the list, and I'm sure authors will add it. They will.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Any other comments? Nope.
No. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chang. There's a delay between sharing. Samuel, let me hear your control.
Hi
Samuel, you
all.
can start whenever you are. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yep. Hi all. I'm Samuel Sigel from Cisco. I'll be presenting draft about as an algorithm in PSEP on behalf of authors of the draft. I presented it in past already a few times. Purpose of this presentation is mostly to summarize changes done to the draft since last IETF. So at first, short summary about motivation and content of the Zeralgo draft. Before this draft was introduced, information about the algorithm or specific seed was available in IGP and VGPLS, but there was no way to encode that information in PSEP. extension for SR and SR6 ERO subobject was introduced to solve it. Second part is about the second part of the graph is about algorithm constraint, which is allowing operator to specify algorithm of seeds, which can be used in the computed segment list. As our seed algorithm covers existing algorithms from RGP, SPF, 3D SPF, and FlexAlgo. FlexAlgo path computation has a lot of benefits. For example, possibility of computing of shorter segment list, better utilization of ECMP, or applying constraints and optimization methods to TLF and backup path as well. Now to describe actual changes. So the 10 new versions of the draft were submitted since last IETF with multiple changes described in next few slides. The draft already defined capability to negotiate whether SR algorithm extension for SR and SR6 subobject is supported by peer-to-peer. Usage of those flags was extended to cover algorithm constraints for specific path setup type. Based on comments received, seed algorithm was renamed to SR algorithm to align PSEP draft with documents from other working groups. Explicit statements were added to specify handling of various negative cases, like multiple instances of SR algorithm TOV included in LSP object, unexpected DRO subobject length, using SR algorithm specific PSEP extensions, even if capability was not advertised by PSEP and few other things. The draft was extended to specify behavior for edge seeds, binding seeds, BGP seeds in case of usage of SR algorithm constraint. Also, some clarification was done that the algorithm constraint is applied to end-to-end path, and we are not allowing to specify different algo number per domain, plus some recommendations were included in case of if somebody still needs to achieve it. Now the SR algorithm TLV itself, which is used for encoding of algorithm constraints, it was extended with new mode to allow, for example, path computation on PC based on metric type and constraints retrieved from FlexAlgo definition. Existing loose flag was modified or updated to strict flag to align it with some other PSEP RFCs and drafts. I explained the reasons why new mode was needed for the as algorithm TLV in the last IETF and also on mailing list. So I will not go into details about that mode, about why the mode is needed. I will just describe the actual behavior of that new mode of the path computation. So FlexAlgo path computation on PC follows path computation logic from IGP, so same type breaking logic for fact selection, same rules for topology pruning, like exclusion of links which are not advertising FlexAlgo ASLA or application-specific link attributes, and also exclusion of nodes without participation in the specific SR algo. PC must also use ASLA-specific, FlexAlgo ASLA-specific metric values or admin groups. In case of messages like PC request or PC report, the metric type is ignored, and we are retrieving the metric type from the FlexAlgo definition. For constraints, PC must consider both. So the constraints from the PC messages and constraints from FAT. But PCC and PC or both PCPs are not supposed to include or to reflect those constraints from FlexAlgo definition in PC messages. So for example, if FlexAlgo definition has some, I don't know, admin group specified, the NPC use them in the path computation, it is not supposed to include them in PC update message which is sent back to the PCC. If specific combination of constraints is not supported in the path computation on PC side, then PC can still fail the path computation and respond with empty path. Then IGP flexible metric type for delay optimized path is using minimum unidirectional link delay, but there was no equivalent metric type in PCEP. So two new metric types were introduced, one for point-to-point paths and one for point-to-multipoint paths, and existing metric type for path delay in PCEP was using average link delay. So that's why we needed to introduce new metric types. All of these are basically new piece of extensions which happened since last IETF. So there was a really, let's say, major change from that point of view. And for next steps, so any comments, any discussion is welcome. And the next plan is to request yearly YANA clock points allocation so we can proceed with the interop. So
Thanks, Samuel. The update looks really good. Thanks for working on it. One thing which I want to flag, and it's better you handle early on itself, is the number of authors. We have currently 8, limited to 5. Do it early rather than at the later stages where there are more hurt feelings. So I suggest just fix it in the next version itself. So you have 2 models, either limit to 5 or mark someone as an editor and move everybody else in the contributor section.
Yep, I will do that. I had a plan to do it, but yeah, I was postponing it for now as I was not sure who will contribute more. So, and I wanted to decide based on that. But yeah, I can do that in next version.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any pending issues that working group should be aware of?
But only let's say small point enhancement which I'm still tracking in the draft is basically maybe better error reporting. So for any cases where, for example, because of the limited support of the draft, the PC is rejecting the path computation or failing the path computation, then we can potentially enhance the error reporting and send some specific either error code back to the PCC to clarify why the path computation failed. But yeah, I mean that's minor thing, and we will see how it will be handled or if it really needs to be handled. So that's the only remaining part which I'm really tracking.
Thank you. Any other comments? No. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, you can use this. Just give me 1 second. Let me bring up your slides.
Hello,
can you do a test whether it's working?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's working.
Hello everyone, I'm Zan from ZTE. Today I'm presenting on behalf of the co-authors. In the following scenarios, the end state of the egress node must be specified in the segment list of SRv6 policy. The first is steering traffic based on bounding state. For example, internal spacing scenarios and cross-domain path spacing scenarios. The second is end-to-end fast fault detecting based on SRv6 policy. The end state of egress node must be specified in the segment list of OM message. The SRH of data packets forwarded based on the SRv6 policy will encapsulate the end state and wrapping state of the egress node at the same time. It will introduce the following questions. It will affect the PSP behaviors because the conditions of SL equals 0 is not met. The penultimate SR segment endpoint node will not be able to perform the processing of removing the SRH. from the IPv6 extension header. And it also affects the forwarding efficiency of egress node. The date packet needs to look up the seed table twice within the egress node. For some chips, the second seed table lookup requires lookup interface to be implemented. Due to the bandwidth limitations and the possibility of other service packets existing on the loopback interface, the following efficiency of packets to VPN will be greatly affected. In our document, we defined the following mechanism. When the controller distributes a segment list through PCEP, it informs the ingress node, which one is the egress node seed. It can be through a flag of the SRv6 ERO sub objects. And after the ingress node received the PCP message, it will, if SRH segment list of the packet already contains the service seed of the egress node, the end seed of the egress node will not be encapsulated in SR's in segment list at the same time. It extends the flags of SRv6 YAO subject. This is the format of the SRv6 YAO subject with the E bit. When the E flag is set, it indicates that the segment ID is the egress node seed. And this is examples. For data packets forwarded to VPN, SRH segment list will not encapsulate the end seed and the service seed at the same time. It only encapsulated the service seed. And for OM message, it is the OM message is not doesn't need to be sent to the VPN, so it can only it needs so all the node seed of the seed list of as a policy will be encapsulated. It doesn't need to encapsulate the service seed. Next step. Any questions or comments are welcome. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Did you present this in Spring?
Yes.
Is there any feedback from Spring or any other? So I think do check with the Spring working group as well. I think whether what you are proposing makes sense or not. I think we want to get some inputs. From PCEP point of view, especially from the encoding point of view, another thing that we can think is we have NAI. Can NAI be used? Because NAI can carry the loopback address, and I know who the destination is. Can that itself meet your requirement? Do we really need a flag or not? That's also something that you could think about. But I think the main would be to get input from Spring, and then we can think about this more. Does anybody else has any thoughts on this? Whether this thing is needed, is useful? No feedback. Okay, maybe we can move to the next one.
Okay. This is the presentation for about PCEP extension to support county pass validity. ISA policy architectures are specified in FC 9256. ISA policy comprises one or more county passes, of which at a given time, one and only one may be active. Each county pass in turn may have one or more seed lists, of which one or more may be active. When multiple seed lists are active, and then traffic is load balanced over them. However, a county pass is valid when at least one seed list is active. This county pass validity criteria can't meet the need of some scenarios. Draft 10 Spring ISA policy CP defines the validity control parameters and county pass to control the validity judgment of candidate path. This document defined PCP classes for signaling the validity control parameters of a candidate path for one SR policy.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yes, this is the motivation, the condition path validity criteria defined EFC 9256 can meet the needs of the following scenarios. The candidate path 1 carries a total of 200 megabytes of traffic within the policy 1. The flow based hashing await each segment list with a regional 50%. That is, each segment list carry 100 megabytes of traffic. And this time, if one of the segment lists is invalid, but the remaining segment list can't meet carry 200 megabytes of traffic. However, the candidate path 1 is still active. And the draft IETF PCE segment routing policy CP defines SR policy association, and the SR candidate paths are the members of this association. We define the CP validity TLV in the SR policy association object to signal the validity control parameters of a candidate path. This is the format of the CP validity TLV. It mainly includes two parameters. The first is valid SL quantity. It indicates the minimum members of valid segment list and the active candidate path. 0 indicates no requirement for SL quantity. 0xFF indicates that the candidate path is considered valid only if all the segment lists are valid. The second is valid SL weight. 4 octet field, which indicates the minimum value of some of the weights of the valid segment list and the active candidate path. 0 indicates no requirement for weight. 0x FFFFF indicates that the candidate path is considered valid only if all the segment lists are valid. Comments work. Thank you. It also it had made a presentation in IDR working group, and I have received a comment from Jiran, and I will think about it. It's a question about the interoperation issues. I will reply on the mail list.
Thank you.
Okay.
When I first read the document, I went and looked at the Spring document because I was kind of glad to see that there was something defined in Spring. But there's also a similar document in Spring called Flexible Candidate Paths, and it seems to overlap a little bit with this solution. Like it seems to cover some of the similar topics about validity. So this might be more of a topic for Spring, but it might be worth checking to see if those two documents are actually proposing the same solution for this topic.
You mean in Spring working group there is a similar?
Yes.
No, I have read this draft. Okay. And yes, I will do the interpretation. Yes, for that draft, I think it is mainly focused on how to choose the candidate path. But our draft is mainly defined how to define the validator of validator criteria of candidate path. I think it's a different focus. Okay, thank you.
Just one tiny comment. The TLV, this is not PCEP TLV format. We use our type and length are a little different. I think this is coming maybe from the BGP side. So it should follow the PCEP TLV format, which is where the type is 2 octet, length is 2 octet, and then we have the value, not 1 octet, the type and length. Anyway, I can discuss this with you.
Okay, thank you.
I think because you have documents in BGP as well, so you might have used the same TLV here as well, but our format is a little bit different.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. next is me. Hi everyone, I'll be talking about a new document which is about auto bandwidth, something that we kind of missed in the auto bandwidth RFC, so which we are trying to fix with this document. So on behalf of authors, we have Rakesh, me, and Shupeng, who worked on this. Rakesh and I earlier worked on auto bandwidth as well. And when this problem was noticed, we tried to sort of fix it. So just a quick update about what auto bandwidth is. We know the feature had existed for the longest time. In PCEP, we standardize it so that in case of PC initiated and this all the auto bandwidth knobs we could carry within the PCEP protocol itself. And how we did that was via auto bandwidth attribute TLV, which we carry in the LSPA object. Basically, if the TLV exists, auto bandwidth feature is enabled. And if the TLV is not there, that means we disable the feature. This TLV has multiple sub TLVs, and those were the ones where all the attributes go in. And the text is basically we carry if the sub TLV exists only if there is a change. Like once I have reported some value, and if the value isn't changing, there is no need for me to carry the sub TLV every time. So only reason to carry a sub TLV would be when the value changes. And some of them had default values as well, which were clearly specified that these sub TLVs, these are the default values, and some of them do not have a default value. So now what happens is, in a case when I set a particular attribute, but I want to remove it, I don't want to set that attribute anymore. We don't have a very good mechanism to encode that because if you don't carry the TLV, that would means no change. So how do I say go back to default or remove? So that's the issue that we were facing. The only workaround was to remove the whole auto bandwidth feature. That means don't encode the outer TLV, then encode it again with the updated value, which seems pretty like not a good solution. So our suggestion to fix this was, can we use a special value of all zeros in the value portion of the sub TLV to indicate restore to default? And restore to default would be if the sub TLV has a default value set, then basically you are going back to that default value. And if the default value is not set, that means you are removing that associated attribute going forward. So here you see a list of all the sub TLVs and their default values. As you know, some of them don't have a default value, and spatially for them we have an issue because with default value you can send the TLV with the default value and yeah, that's fine. But spatially for ones which we don't have a default value, we don't have a good mechanism. So this was a thinking that we had, which will be the least it's a simple enough way for us to solve this problem. So this is going to be the update to RFC 8733, clearly saying that like all zeros is a special value. You should not think of it as an error case, because in some cases we are clearly saying that zero might go into an error condition. So we don't want that to happen. So it's look for the special value first, and if the value is zero, and if you have a default a mechanism to it, basically go back to the same thing. If default value is set, restore to default. If no default value, remove the attribute. And just so that we can do this in a backward compatible way, we thought we can add one flag as well. The flag can indicate whether this special value of zero is understood or not. If it is not understood, that means you cannot rely on zero. You might fail, so handle with care. So here's an example. Suppose we had a PC initiated LSP, we had sample interval of 600, adjustment interval for 2 days, adjustment threshold 10 Mbps. Now, if I want to remove the adjustment threshold, I can carry the sub TLV, put a special value of all zero, and on receiving this, adjustment threshold will be removed for that particular LSP. And for default values, as you can see, like if you take a sample interval case, you can of course go back and use the default value as well. So both options exist. So what happens if we have an RFC 8733 implementation and an implementation that supports this, basically the Z flag can help us and figuring this out. And if you don't support it, basically you have to go back to the only mechanism that you have is to disable and enable auto bandwidth again. That's the only way forward. Okay, so do we want to fix this? Is update to RFC 8733 the reasonable thing? Anything else that you want to say about this? Floor is open. Would you do the queue management? Yeah.
Any question from the audience? From the room or from people remote?
No feedback means do we at
Any
least
question?
at least you have thoughts on, like, does it make sense to fix this, or it's not a big problem? Maybe let's just take that up. From the implementations that we know, this was flagged by the implementers that yes, we are facing this issue, and that's why as authors of 8733 we came fix it. I can ask them to share their experience on the mailing list as well. Maybe that would help in generating some discussion, because otherwise people want to just get done with the session. Oh, we have John coming.
We have a feedback from the list from Boris, who says that that sounds reasonable for him.
So, sorry that I didn't put myself in the queue. I just am trying to like create some life on the floor at all here. I'm not by any means the most expert person in this room on the protocol, but I thought your case for it was persuasive, so I would be in favor of proceeding forward personally. It's just speaking with no hats on my head.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
So last, and no slides, I guess.
Could Sean join us?
Yes.
Oh, great.
So I think first time we have no slides in our working group, I think.
Hi, my name is Sean Turner. No slides because it would just be one slide saying like, hey, I'd like a working group last call. So I didn't think there was kind of much point to it. So we have a draft. It's a 0.0 version that was actually submitted to the working group, I guess in like June, but it's done. So I'm hoping that we can just go ahead and just do the working group last call and get it over with. I know there's a pecking order and you guys have a list of things that you want to do, but I'm here to ask if we can maybe reprioritize these and just get this one done. The big changes to the last version of the document really was trying to put in some implementation device for what to do with TLS 1.3 and when you have TLS 1.2. So I think that makes it's a much better document than just being like, well, if you were just going to do TLS 1.3, it gives implementers a little bit more information. So that's it. So I don't know what the process is other than saying I'd like a working group last call.
Thanks, Sean. So this is, we would, like Julian and I discussed it, we do want to move this forward, but at the same time, we want to give the working group a chance to let us know that if they have any concerns with it. Otherwise, we would put this up on the RQ as the next thing to working group last call. So if anybody, especially the folks who might be going down in the queue, if you have any concerns, you can reach out to us. Otherwise, we are going ahead.
Yeah, great, cool. And I guess the only thing I'm to say is there's another draft in NetConf, and this draft mirrors exactly the text there. So they're kind of like in lockstep. So I think that's a good thing. So that's all I wanted to add. Thanks.
What's the current status? It's
so that went through a second working group last call just to go out. So it's basically on its way to the ISG any moment. The minute I get off my butt and write some stuff, I want to do the write-up form.
Yeah, so I think like if the document goes to the ISG together, that's makes things easier as well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks.
Any other working group business? Anything else that folks wants to talk about? We have 15 minutes. No. Enjoy your 15 minutes. Julian, do you have any last words?
Not at all. I see someone joining the queue. I don't know if it's a question related to the draft.
Yeah, but I think no audio coming in. If use the chat, use the mailing list. We are giving people their 15 minutes. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you in Prague. Bye.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Seriously.